If you look at Infosys, Wipro, TCS, the big five or the big 10, they have always looked at tier 2.
Airtel is a brand that enjoys trust. It's a household name in India. There's nobody in India who doesn't, identify with Airtel.
Bangalore is the largest commercial real estate market in the world.
How can we add benefit to the customer without compromising data privacy and security, right? That is what we bring to the table.
The best companies are bought, they are never sold. Founders have a lifetime, startups don't. The startups have to be brought up more the way kids are brought up.
There are very few organizations in India who understand the Indian customer the way Airtel does.
Rishi, good to be talking to you again, and I'm saying good to be talking to you again now, because with so many news in the startup ecosystem, it's heartening, it's encouraging, and not just for me, but I'm sure for everyone who's listening and watching us, is that IndiQube turned profitable in FY23. You're also focusing in tier 3 cities and towns of India. Phenomenal, real, authentic story. Because co-working and office spaces, we've gone through so many cycles and stories, but IndiQube has built a fundamentally very strong business. And I want you to share with us what are some of the signals on ground you are seeing?
So I think COVID, if you look at our workspaces, IT has been one of the torch bearers where they have been consistently bringing the transformation, how workspaces have been running in India. Infosys and Wipro, all these companies have been to be given the credit. And then if you look at the startups of late, they were latching on to that bandwagon. So there were multiple trends happening. COVID accelerated many of these trends, which has happened now. And if I look at my generation, we went where work was. Now work is going where people are. So I think that's a big shift that has happened. And I believe the way the first 5 million people worked in IT, the next 5 are not going to work in the same way. So huge difference. So as a result, people want distributed offices. Typically, employees don't want to come to work. Employers want them to come to work. So as a result, there is a lot of focus on how the workspaces could be made more interesting, collaborative, a lot of focus on employee benefits. The senior leadership in most companies is tracking attendance on a daily basis. Who is coming to office?
This everyone would be understanding.
Yeah. So as a result, we are seeing that workplace is now become not a place of work only. It is a place where we also work. And the office has become our office. Typically, the hybrid is here to stay. So these are some of the prominent changes which we are noticing have happened on the ground. A lot of fungibility is what companies are expecting in terms, because nobody knows who, when, where, how. That's a big question, that who will come to office, when, where, and how they will come to office. So as a result of that, it's an HR problem. I don't see it as a admin problem only.
Tier 3, 2-3 towns, how do you create repeatability? Like, I want to understand that part of your business.
So as I said, that what has happened is that before COVID, we had a good customer base, and when these employees started going back, see that tier, let me take a pause and explain that how I see the tier 2. If you look at Infosys, Wipro, TCS, the big 5 or the big 10, they have always looked at tier 2. I think the biggest problem in scaling up in tier 2 has been the mid-level talent. Typically, which was never available in these cities. You can always hire as many freshers as you want and train them and all that, but mid-level talent was a scarcity. When people went for COVID and they decided to stay back, that's where the 10% talent, which was the catalyst, which was missing, actually got created over there. And that's where the tier 2 phenomena actually started happening. And a lot of our clients who had taken up office spaces from us in tier 1s, they said that, okay, now we have to start tier 2. Now, their big problem was how do they provide the same experience, the consistent experience. Even if they have 20 employees, they wanted the same chai coffee to be offered to their employees, same access control, same parking levels, same levels of safety, EHS norms and all of that. So they wanted one partner, a pan-India basis. And our business is not a real estate business, it's a services business, it's a very high-touch business. So like any other services business, we looked at SLAs, draw down the manuals, focus a lot on training our staff, created customer relationship managers, invested a lot on technology. So like today our technology, like people and their employees can actually on the dashboard see and control the activities that are happening in their office, how much power I'm consuming, water to whatnot. So I think that is where they want one neck to choke. And that's where they are looking at one partner. So think about it that if you have 40 regional offices, 40 regional branch offices, 4 regional offices, and 1 head office, you would like a consistent experience in all your places. Yeah. So that is, I think, the problem that we are addressing. That can there be one partner, and can this whole thing be outsourced like the way banks used to outsource IT? They had so many branches, they wanted one IT partner to run all their branches. So I think a very similar thing is happening in the workspaces now. And
someone you get to trust.
Yes, yeah. That's a key thing. The consistency is a key thing, the service levels. So it's like a B2B business. So that's the key.
As businesses scale, like IndiQube, we've seen businesses scaling in the last few years in the startup ecosystem. Is that how do you see Airtel play a supporting role as businesses scale?
A lot of what I wanted to talk about is what both of you just touched about, right? Rishi was talking about how businesses want to scale without compromising on aspects like security, for instance, scalability, for instance. All that is still pre-COVID era. Nobody wants to compromise on aspects like data security, right? Privacy. Those are core aspects as they want to scale and enable work from home solutions, right? That has not evolved. So a lot of what Airtel is doing is supporting our customers in aspects like that. For instance, our SD-WAN is a new technology. We've rolled it out where it enables you to work from home without compromising on aspects like security, scalability, and so on. Same way, how we consume, interact with our customers. Rishi just spoke about, people want the flexibility in terms of dashboards. You want flexibility in terms of, your data connection at each of the, locations that they're opening. All that is built on connectivity that's, an organization like Airtel can provide, right? And you spoke about trust. Airtel is a brand that enjoys trust. It's a household name in India. There's nobody in India who doesn't, identify with Airtel. And it's the trust quotient that we've built up over the years is huge, right? And just as the person on the street trusts us, large organizations trust us as well. So we work with so many organizations today who've outsourced their entire security needs to us, right? So we again protect them, the entire data residency issues, data security, privacy issues, where we ensure those are not compromised, at the same time helping them scale up.
We have all come back after a world that changed with pandemic, and I think the working environment has changed, and then it's like hybrid now, and I hear some have 3 days working, 2 days working, some have like back to office every day. So it's a changed world. How do you operate in this hybrid work environment, and tell me what you're doing as IndiQube to stay ahead?
So if you look at the hybrid work environment, multiple things have happened. One is people want walk to work. Or they want to be closer to their homes. So what it meant was that earlier than COVID, the companies were in a consolidation mode, trying to go to larger tech parks which are on the periphery. Now suddenly when you want properties in the city, the good properties were not there. So we picked up renovation in a very big way, where we looked at property which were say 20 years old, 30 years old. We are doing a lot of work with IIM Bangalore now. Because what is happening in India also is, as metro is coming to all Indian bigger cities, the city centers have to get redeveloped. They have to come back to life. So that's a big problem, that you can't be demolishing and creating a UB city. It takes 5 years to create a UB city or a India Bull Center in Bombay. So how do you work with the existing stock of real estate is a big issue. So that's what we have been working very extensively on. Then the whole thing about technology, like if you move from one office to another office, how the whole thing is very, very seamless. Your employee benefits work over there, your booking of meeting rooms and all. Should be very, very consistent across all of them. So huge investments into technology have been happening. Then the whole thing on the tier 2, basically going and opening up setups. And sustainability has been a big thrust area for us, because and COVID re-emphasized that. And our buildings are not like the 5-star tech parks. They are very average buildings. So ensuring that we are a platinum rated green building. So a lot of investment has gone into sustainability over there, both in terms of water, what we are seeing in Bangalore now, the whole water crisis. I must tell you that our groundwater consumption is less than 10% across our complete portfolio of buildings in Bangalore. And because recycling of water through sewage treatment plants, to rainwater harvesting and low flow rate taps, all of that we have implemented well in advance, waste management and all. So that is another key thrust area for us. The other big aspect has happened is, as I was saying earlier, that now from the office it has become our office. So the companies are looking at a lot to be done for their employees. So big focus is on the wellness of employees, recreation, events. Now we have 52-week event calendar. right from the Valentine's Day to Independence Day, everything is celebrated in the office. So the community feel that engagement.
And still we are not happy.
So he's still there, yeah, of course. So I always say that in the IT sector, most of the people think that they are God gift to mankind. So that's a problem we have today. So we are looking at focusing a lot on the B2C services, also a lot on the B2B side of the services, ease of doing business, because a large portfolio of our customers are not very large companies. They are startups or mid-sized companies. So for them, how do they seamlessly scale up, scale down over there if they have distributed offices? How did all of that work is a key area of focus for us. Providing employee transport, like for example, we provide citywide transport because after COVID, people are not very keen to commute in the buses and public transport and all. So now we have a citywide network of buses which ply people in the safety and comfort of that. So those are the philosophies. A lot of focus on food we are doing, like all our food is cooked into our centralized kitchen, brought in because people want to see the supply chain, how the food is actually coming to them and all of that.
If you had to go back and tell us, like, you and Meghna have co-built this company, that क्या चीज़ था जो कि product market fit हुआ, और what is it that you think worked?
So I think it starts from the way IndiQube was took birth actually, like because for CareerNet, that's the first business which me and my brother started many years back. So we have a business which is the largest recruitment company in India. So every 2 years we are changing office. So we are fed up with that. And we said that we take a large office space of about 100,000 square feet. This was in 2013. And we required half the space. We said other half we will give to companies and sublease it to them. And then when we are expanding, we'll ask them to go. And that is where when these companies came in, they started asking, can I use your boardroom, training room, transport, food, whatever amenities we have created for us, they started asking for that. Now that is where we realized that there is a big gap in the market. You have tech parks or you have nothing. There was no concept of brand. You had individual landlords and you never know what quality or compliance or consistency they are likely to provide. So that is how the whole thing started. Our belief from the beginning has been that this is a enterprise, large size, long stay business. This is not a co-working business. So other aspect has been that because India is a very large real estate market, we realize that this requires a 1.0. I always say jokingly that some of my competitors offer free beer in the office, right? I say that this country requires affordable food and transport before we can offer free beer in the office. So you don't require a 5-star buffet in this country. You require an a la carte with a pay on demand, what Indigo kind of companies mastered. So I think those are the places where we said that one size doesn't fit all. You have to be personalized, customized, pay as you use, on demand. So those are the aspects which I think became very big differentiating factors, and that's where our enterprise customers started liking that. And that built in. You'll be surprised, I heard about WeWork after 2 years of starting our business. So a lot of in startup, how people say that this is happening in US, let me copy and do it in India. On the contrary, like we were touring New York, we thought, okay, we have been hearing this name, let us visit that place. So it took us 2 years. So from the beginning, and another aspect is, I was telling Samyuktha before this, that Bangalore is the largest commercial real estate market in the world. Bangalore absorbs 14 million square feet of office space. Way in excess of a New York or Shanghai or any of those kind of cities. So it is the largest commercial real estate market in the world. So how can you have not a 1.0? You can't be copy pasting something from another country and bringing it out here. So I think our belief that the fundamental market is very large. We need that or 1.0. We need to be conscious about the cultural sensitivities, our priorities, our needs. And I think that's where we could get the product fitment right.
Tell me about this insight to get into co-living. That's very, very different, no?
So co-living, if you ask me, before COVID was looking like a very, very promising opportunity. I think COVID was a big jolt for that, typically because, and it has not recovered fully, if you ask me honestly, since then. We have been looking at because our one focus, walk to work, has been there. So there the key idea is that if there are other co-living operators, if we can partner and ensure that how do we reduce the carbon footprint. Like typically people should be able to, in 20 minutes maximum, walk to work kind of a concept. So co-living, I will say, is as of now in a pause mode. The other problem in co-living has been the competition comes from a lot of chawls. typically the PGs, and they have no compliances.
Yeah.
So for any large operator to actually run a compliant business and be competitive in terms of pricing is turning out to be a very, very big challenge.
You know, for brands and businesses today, it is important for them to reach their customers, their target audience through various channels. And I would love if you could share with us that how Airtel supports businesses to...
All right. Just as Rishi was talking, right, a good business puts the customer at the heart of everything that they do. Right? And it's important to reach the customer through across channels, across communication channels in different manners, what works for that customer, right? So for a certain customer, WhatsApp may work, for another customer, voice may work, for another customer, SMS may work. And for each customer, depending on the situation, you might want to do voice when you have a transactional issue with a brand, but you may choose WhatsApp for a marketing promotion that the brand wants to reach out to you, right? And that may work, well with you. So what we've done is we've brought together all of these different modes of reaching out to the customer as one consolidated platform, right? Through which they can offer, brands can reach out to their customers in a seamless way through one specific customer. And we are offering this as our CPass platform. So just to delve a little more into this, right? This is probably one of the only CPass platforms owned and run by a telecom company across the world today. Right? And why is that unique is if you look at it, a lot of this, when I talk about voice calls, when I talk about SMS, right, a lot of it are our own products. Right? We're not reselling it. So what we're able to do is we're able to bring to the table a lot of benefits in terms of operational and economic efficiencies. Right? If you look at Airtel today, Shradha, we have close to 400 million customers in the country today.
Yeah.
There are very few organizations in India who understand the Indian customer the way Airtel does. Right? And we've been working with these customers over decades.
Yeah.
Right? We know their preference in terms of today. I know where you work. I know where you sleep, I know how you travel, what your banking habits are, what your, insurance habits are.
Yes.
Right? For you, yeah.
Yes.
So, and at the same time, how can we add benefit to the customer without compromising data privacy and security, right? That is what we bring to the table. The kind of knowledge that we have in terms of, what constitutes an Indian family unit, right? We have that visibility. Right? Where do you live? What are your, app browsing preferences? Are you more responsive on SMS? Are you more responsive on WhatsApp? That is a kind of deep insight about the Indian customer that we can bring to the table. Yeah. Right? And it's beneficial to both the brands and the customer, and without compromising security and data privacy, because the entire thing is built on our own platform.
How do you look at the security? Because for all these digital native businesses, this is of utmost importance.
Absolutely. Security, the absolute clincher about security has not changed. We're talking about work from home, we're talking about anywhere. Organizations want that flexibility, but not at the cost of that security, right? So security, for instance, we're seeing the trends in the security aspect. If you look at what's over the last 1 year, we've seen a lot of media coverage about data breaches in certain brands and all of that, right? So what we're bringing to the table, Shradha, especially security, typically organizations go about it in a very, siloed way. Hey, I want a spam filter, I'll go, with one brand. And I want a little bit of something else, I'll go with another brand, right? So what that does is you're working with 5-6 different brands without any proper integration between them. Right? And that leads to faults going forward, right? That's a weak point in your security overall architecture going forward. So what we've done is we offer the entire security suite of products where we own and manage the SLAs for the brand. Right? And we will commit to your SLAs. We will work for it right from your endpoint security, be it ZTNA, which is another trend going on in the security landscape arena right now, be it just plain vanilla spam filters. We will own your end-to-end security for across any device, be it within the enterprise, outside the enterprise. We will give you dashboards to monitor it, holistically, and we will own the SLAs.
You mentioned in TechSparks that your primary aim is to ensure absolute scalability and stray away from an expiration date for IndiQube. Now tell me, what are some of the strategies that you deploy for this, or has helped you to consistently stay ahead?
So I will say, from my first venture, one key thing has been, the belief has been that the best companies are bought, they are never sold. So let's not create business with that kind of an intent. And the other aspect has been for any company, founders have a lifetime, startups don't. So as a founder, I can start the company. I may run it till the time I think I am the right person to run it or I want to run it. But when the time comes in, you have to pass on the baton and move to the next one. So I think these are the two very, very fundamental things that we believe. Third is basically that the whole resilience, focus on unit economics, getting the whole thing right, not getting overboard. With a lot of basically the valuation, not chasing that kind of a thing. And also the startups have to be brought up more the way kids are brought up. You give birth to a child, you inculcate the right competencies, give them the right values, and pass on the knowledge and allow them to flourish. I think very similarly, when you create a startup, right from the beginning, that's very important, that build the right teams, get the right guys on the team and have the right value system. Without that, like for example, I will give you, like in our company, we have a policy that if in any office get-together, if there is booze, it will be paid for by the people. Booze is never on the house, right? So we have kept that policy.
Yeah.
There is no concept of entitlement in the company that, okay, this employee will stay in this class of a hotel and stuff like that. So I think those are very important and they define the culture of the company as you grow. So if those are the things we do right, then this question can be addressed actually.
What are some of the trends that you see in the telecom industry which could have an impact on the startup?
I'm personally so excited about 5G. Right? India as a country launched 5G a few months ago, right? Just late 2023 is when we introduced 5G. So if you look at India has evolved considerably as a digital ecosystem, right? We all have a whole bunch of apps. We want to buy flight tickets, we use an app. We want to, book space in I'm sure there's an app, right from FMCG to, retail. There are a whole bunch of apps. And the customer touch points have all evolved dramatically using digital apps, using the 4G space, right? Where a lot of them are built on that capability that 4G provides. But if you look at in fact, a whole bunch of D2C brands have also evolved, right, over the last couple of years. But if you look at the back end, right, your manufacturing, it's a D2C brand, but what do they do for their warehousing? What do they do for their manufacturing? What do they do for their supply chain and logistics? There's so much of improvement that is possible in those areas, right? And of course, today, no discussion today, I think, is incomplete without some mention of AI and ML, Shradha. So I'm just going to go out there because AI is the buzzword. If you look at inherently, right, AI and ML by definition need processing power. They need to process large volumes of data in very short spans of time, right? That is the basic definition. And I think that is what 5G provides, right? We're going to see huge jump in terms of speed, processing time, latency. So we're going to see use cases involving AI and ML. I'm very, very excited about that. We're going to see a lot of improvement in terms of autonomous vehicles, be it the IoT space, be it, health tech, telemedicine. So these are areas that I'm very excited about. And in turn, it's going to translate into startups in all of these avenues, because what 5G brings to the table is in terms of quantum jump in the term processing power, latency and speed.
Yeah, and I have one very quick question is that how do you see customers leveraging data to reduce the customer acquisition cost and increase the customer lifetime value?
All right. Those are very, very good parameters, because broadly the lifetime value of a customer and the customer acquisition cost are two parameters that most startups will track, because it gives you a pulse into the financial health of how good are your customer outreach efforts, customer, marketing efforts. And broadly in the industry, if you look at a SaaS startup, right, 3:1 is a good ratio to have, right? You want the customer to stay with you for a longer time, make more purchases, and minimize your customer acquisition cost. So if you look at this, one of the main ways how organizations do it is in terms of cross-selling and upselling products to the existing set of customer base, right? It increases stickiness for a customer, increases repeat purchase from that same customer, at the same time minimizes customer marketing costs, right? So, and again, when I think of cross-sell and upsell, one of the core ways of doing it is to understand your customer very well and personalize your offerings, right? And again, going back to my earlier answer, the way that is where the CPass platform platform that Airtel has helps, because we understand the customer, right? We, in terms of geographic, in terms of psychometric, we know who's a family unit, who are your friends, who you talk to, the kind of knowledge that, organizations can use, leveraging our know-how of the Indian customer and how you can cross-sell and upsell to them. So one of the exciting things that you're doing today, right, a leading hospital chain in the country is very focused on preventive healthcare, right? So they're trying to get customers to come on board and take preventive health checkups, right? So we're partnering with them. Typically, what is the kind of profile of a customer who could be interested in a preventive health checkup is possibly somebody who's invested in health insurance, right? So those would be your first cohorts of somebody who would invest in preventive health checkups. So that is the kind of, the bridge that we build, right? Helping them reach out to the right customer audience. So probably when Rishi is opening his next IndiQube office, happy to partner with him and, help him say who is the target customer that you should be reaching out to. Because we're doing that today with banks, for instance, right? Where should you open your next ATM? Right? Where should you open your next, who are your target customers? How many people are going to be your banking customers in the next locality?
That's very good, intelligent data, insight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this happens without compromising in an individual's privacy or security, right? At an aggregate level.
How do you measure? What are some of the metrics internally? I'm sure you have a net promoter score. How do you see that people, because, it is at the end of the day experience.
So I think, as I mentioned, we offer a plethora of B2B and B2C services to our client. The key parameter is adoption. And we always create pilots, typically implement them on a small scale, take the feedback, and do a lot of Brahma and Shiva on that, right? So you create something, and if it's working, great. If it's not working, then do that. Because today it is very difficult to get into a feature war. Whether it comes to technology or whether it comes to offering the services, and remain true to your core promise. So for example, in our business, we have a fundamental belief that our client's employee is the hero of the story. See, in India, why people invest in good quality offices is to retain and attract and retain the employee. So that is a fundamental thing. So anything that can improve the employee's productivity, enhance the experience, is a key thing for us. Second is the ease of doing business. So that is a metric, and not very too much about that what my competition is doing, what is working, not working, kind of a thing. Just focus on that, and we have a detailed CSAT. Every year we do that, and we do it across 2-3 levels. The CXOs across our clients, the admin heads, which are our direct stakeholder, and their employees. And whatever learnings are there, we implement. We take them very seriously.
How many businesses would be, as in working, I'm saying, leveraging IndiQube? So
today we would have about 450 plus enterprise clients over there, and we have a good mix. About 1/3 of them are multinational companies, another 1/3 are the GCCs, the offshore development centers, and another third are the startups, basically the late stage startups, and about 10%, about 30%, and 10% are the Indian companies, the Ultratech Cement, the Air India, Mahindra Logistics kind of guys. So even after COVID, we are seeing a lot of Indian companies also are preferring a managed office model. So that's a growing segment for us.
What's your strategy at Airtel to engage with enterprise customers, and then what's in store for 2024?
All right. So Shradha, we're just going to be, if you look at Airtel, right, we will continue making, a lot of investment in our core communication network, right? We've always been, making these investments. If you look at our history, even at times when, there's a slight revenue dip, typically organizations will say, hey, I'm not going to make investments in our technology and infrastructure, but we went ahead and we've made a tremendous amount of investments in our core communication network, right? That is our base. So what we're going to do is we're going to add on to this in terms of we have our security offerings, which I just spoke about. We're very excited. Airtel today is the largest cloud data center provider in the country today, right, in terms of capacity. We saw COVID gave a huge flip to this whole migration to cloud business in the enterprise. But broadly, I think we've not even scratched the surface. We just around 30% of workloads in India are now on the cloud. So there's a huge, headroom for us to grow, right? So we're making a lot of investments in the in the cloud business. We're also very excited about our digital offerings in terms of our communication and our CPass offerings that I just spoke about, because that also helps brands engage better with their audience, right? So in terms of security, in terms of data center, in terms of our digital offerings, at the same time ensuring we continue to invest in our our core offerings, which is our connectivity, would be the broad way to go for us.
अगर मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँ, डिस्टिल कीजिए, सारांश में मुझे बोलिए 2-3 चीज़ें दैट यू बिल्ट विच इज़ वेरी मेड इन इंडिया वे ऑफ बिल्डिंग अ प्रॉफिटेबल बिजनेस, क्या होगा ताकि जो भी एंटरप्रेन्योर सुन रहे हैं आज वो सीखें एंड मे बी इट हेल्प्स देम इन देयर जर्नी, बिकॉज द अदर थिंग इज दैट यू हैव नॉट रेज सिग्निफिकेंट कैपिटल टू डू दिस.
VC फंडिंग इज़ नॉट अ एंड इन इटसेल्फ. तो आज की सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम ये है इंडिया में कि बहुत सारे जो एस्पायरिंग एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं वो सोचते हैं फंडिंग इज़ अ एंड इन इटसेल्फ. मेरा मानना है कि VC एंड प्राइवेट इक्विटी फंडिंग इज़ गोल्ड प्लेटेड मनी. It should be consumed very, very responsibly. पहली चीज़, that will be my advice. दूसरा, I always say that in a lot of ways the English media, the Western money and this IIT phenomena has hijacked the entrepreneurship story. Entrepreneurship story हिंदुस्तान में से बहुत ज़्यादा बड़ी है. I always take examples of companies like A2B or you take Suguna Chicken and these kind of things. They have no degrees, they have never raised any money. They have built thousands of crores of valuable business. So I think go beyond technology, go beyond the metros and have your ears on the ground. वो एक बहुत ही बड़ी चीज़ है. Third thing I will say is that whatever you think of, think big. Don't think very small and aim high. At the same time, stay grounded. That's a very, very, because that's what we saw in the last 4-5 years. The startup world somewhere started losing that.
Stay grounded कैसे करे आदमी जब इतना पैसा मिल रहा है, इतना attention मिल रहा है?
Stay grounded का वही है कि पैसा, you have to मानना पड़ेगा कि मैं तो ये बोलता हूँ कि ज़्यादातर जो हमारे VCs हैं, प्राइवेट इक्विटी है ना, ये सूट बूट वाले लाला हैं. right. So I think you have to be very, very clear that there is no free lunch, and if they are giving money, they are expecting much higher returns. And they have their own ways of looking at, they have their own attention span. Right. आज भी आप जर्मनी में देखिए तो 60% से ज़्यादा businesses जो हैं, they are owned by families. And they are owned for 300 years, 400 years. Stock market में आज भी majority of the wealth is owned by families, not the private equity or the VCs. So I think somewhere we need to basically understand that and not raise that kind of money. Stay away from the limelight. जैसे I give this anecdote multiple times. हम लोग संस्कृत में पढ़ते थे. In school I had Sanskrit. So there was a very good shlok. काक चेष्टा भक्तो ध्यानम अल्पहारी गृहत्यागी यम विद्यार्थी पंचलक्षणम. तो आई थिंक एंटरप्रेन्योर वही है. यू हैव टू हैव द लाइक अ परसिवरेंस लाइक अ क्रो, right? काक चेष्टा बको ध्यानम, the attention of a crane. Alpahari, right? You have to be living with penance. Shwan nidra, you have to sleep like a dog, be always alert. And grahtyagi, right? So I think if nothing has changed, entrepreneurship is very much like the way a good student has to lead life. You have to leave, and Lakshmi and Saraswati का एक paradox है. They don't sit in the same quadrant easily. Right? So Lakshmi destroys Saraswati. Right. So it's a paradoxical thing, and if you can retain Saraswati, then Lakshmi will automatically follow. The last thing which I will say is that there are many shareholders beyond the cap table. Our family, our friends, our well-wishers. We should never forget them, and we should always be thankful to them whatever we achieve. As we grow.
Gratitude.
एक झुकाव, एक gratitude हमेशा होना चाहिए. And I think that is a key thing. If we just follow the basics what we have been taught in school, I think it's a wonderful story, and all of us can be successful.
And be peaceful and happy, peaceful. Content होंगे.
Yes.
जो कि अभी कोई है नहीं.
See, power without peace is a very dangerous weapon. You need to have peace. You need to have, then only power has any meaning over there.
Yes. What are some of the tenets, what are some of the principles, what are some of the things that you do to maintain this high quality जो brand से association है? And this is a learning for all the startups and entrepreneurs who are listening to us.
All right. I don't understand Sanskrit, but I can totally resonate with what Rishi said. Right? So, in terms of putting customer first, yesterday, I just want to dwell on, what happened yesterday at Airtel, right? So, yesterday was what would we call a complete customer focus day. Right, where every single employee from Airtel, I'm talking about senior management, senior executives, we spent the entire day out in the open, out in the field with our field staff, right, with our engineering teams, with our customer-facing, sales representatives, and so on, with our, the people who actually set up radio towers, do the actual work. This was more in terms of understanding how processes can be improved, how customer touch points can be improved, and I think this whole ethos of putting customer first is at the very core of the Airtel brand. Right?
Yeah.
Shradha, if you look at telecom industry as a whole in India, right? If you go back 15 years, there've been a whole host of players.
Yeah.
It is a very, very crowded market. But if you look at the telecom industry today, Airtel is the brand that has survived.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's in no small measure due to the fact that we put customer first over everything else. Right? And I think that stems right from the very top. The culture of putting the customer first. So within Airtel, I handle the enterprise segment. But, very often, sometimes I go into a customer's place, they tell me, hey, my broadband at home is not working. My dish TV at home is not working. And that's fine, right? Our priority is to ensure every single touch point for the customer works, right? And it happens in a seamless way, right? And I think we've brought that culture right from the very top of the organization, and that has helped us all these years. And I think that is what, putting customer first is all about.
Yes, Rishi, you tell me.
So, I think when it comes to our customer, the key thing, according to me, is to remain true to your core value proposition. Like, as I said, in our business, the hero of the story is my customer's employee. So anything that we do, any partnership, collaboration that we think of, first thing we think is कि इससे employee का experience enhance होगा क्या, इससे उसकी life better होगी क्या. Like give you an example, food जैसे है. अब इंडिया में people in 80 rupees, 90 rupees want a full meal. सांबर, चटनी, गरम डोसा सब कुछ चाहिए 80-90 rupees के अंदर. Now we realize that if we outsource the food, we are not getting the quality. We said we will cook food on our own. We now have a kitchen which cooks more than 10,000 meals a day. Wow. A big centralized kitchen, and we are scaling up that. So we realize food is a very important thing for the employee. Same thing with transport. Hindustan mein abhi bhi metro is very weak. If you are a company, you want to attract and retain employees, normally aapka talent catchment 5 kilometer radius hai. But with something like transport, you can attract employees in 15 kilometer radius. Yeah. Today we talk so much about diversity hiring. Now if you expect a women staff to work, then you have to have a safe commute being provided to your people. So those are the places. That's basically the litmus test that we apply for everything that we look at. Same thing applies to ease of doing business over there. The other thing I will say is that when we got in the business, we changed the whole metric in a way. किराएदार मकान मालिक रिलेशनशिप था. तो अगर एक बड़ा कस्टमर भी है जिसको 1 लाख स्क्वायर फीट का ऑफिस भी चाहिए, वो मकान मालिक के ऑफिस जाता था. I cannot think of any other business जहाँ कस्टमर जो है वेंडर के ऑफिस जाता है. Vendor comes to customer office. So relationship में एक बहुत बड़ा tilt था कि मकान मालिक यहाँ है, किराएदार यहाँ है. We changed this whole thing, and it's a big change. Where we are saying that even the smallest customer, our people will go to their office. Even we may be the landlord, so to say, but we brought that service mindset to that. So that was a big shift that happened. The other thing is that as you can imagine, if somebody gets into our office or even thinks about coming to office at 7 in the morning, they have to see that if I take the car, where will I park it? Or which transport cab can I use today to go to office. Then during the office till you come back at 7 in the evening, there are so many touch points that you have. Now at every touch point, how can we enhance the experience? How can we make it better compared to what we were doing yesterday, kind of a thing. So those are the small, there is no one big eureka thing, but these small hacks, and I always give a lot of credit to the Oberois. When it comes to hospitality, they are the gold standard, and no two ways about it. So I think that's the aspiration, that every touch point that I have, how can I do that extra, and that the power of compounding actually builds on top of it. Over a year, then you can go back and see the difference over there. So those are the places where I believe that if you remain true to your core value proposition, keep improving on that, and do anything and everything keeping that in mind. I think the customer retention is bound to happen. That wow factor is bound to come.
You know, what I'm also hearing you say is that it's non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable.
Yeah,
That is the last. You can never do that. You can never. An Indian context, the customers are demanding.
क्योंकि हम लोग थोड़ा short change करने लगते हैं. मतलब थोड़ा बचाने के लिए.
As Samyuktha rightly said that there was a price war in the telecom. In our industry, as you rightly said, there are so many players over there. So there is always this pressure. But now, as 7-8 years have passed in our industry, I think that maturity is coming in. The men and boys are getting separated because it's a B2B business.
Yeah.
You can't say that I took a cheap office, but my internet is not working properly.
Yeah.
Or my UPS tripped. And there is a fair amount of maturity that is required to ensure that you have zero downtime, all this is working, you are in a safe office. And over a period of time, people start discerning and making the differentiation, and they're willing to pay, especially the B2B guys. And we are very clearly seeing in our industry like Airtel, like a very classic thing I will tell 8 years back, 9 years back in Airtel, Airtel always give you the itemized bill. The other operator which we tried, we were finding the bills were not coming. Now, how do I verify? Today, telecom has become so cheap, but 9-10 years the calls were expensive. So I am paying the bills, the monthly, but I'm not getting any statements. So that itself was a big thing, and we are willing to pay 10-15 paisa extra per call at that point in time purely because we needed that. We need to monitor, track all of that. So I think those small things make a lot of difference.
Yeah. So customer obsession सिर्फ बात नहीं है, यहाँ हम सीख रहे हैं कि it takes little things and consistently showing up every day with little things. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been a brilliant conversation. We can go on, but there's a lot of learning, and thank you to both of you for giving your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Shradha. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Yeah.